back to the channel. Today we have a brake job to be done. Nope, not pads this time, but we have some old fluid in this bike and it's pretty nasty. So I've already dumped out all the fluid in the rear brake. I'll show you a little trick on how to get all that old fluid out as you're putting in new fluid for your front brakes. The rear brake's easy enough, just disconnect, dump it all out. Make sure there's just a little bit in there and then clean it out, get all that gunk out. Here, I'll show you here real quick. So now it's all nice and clean in there. So what we got some .3 Napa brand. Got ourselves some hose. I was hoping for some clear hose, but well, this is what they had. I think this has fuel line. It'll work. It's better than nothing. So right here, just goes on right there. You can see your bleeder right there. That turns out, which releases it. So there's a few little key things on this. Your goal is to not introduce air into your system. So as you're doing this, you want to always be holding pressure on your brake lever. Push in, push in, push in, release, and absolutely before you release pressure off your brake lever, you want that valve to be closed. So let's get in, get the rear done, then we'll head on to the fronts. Little note on this, I'm doing this by myself. I don't got anybody help me. This is pretty easy job to do by yourself. I do have other tools that make it easier, but hey, let's do this the old-fashioned way. Not everyone has all those tools to flush out your lines. So let's get in on it. Okay, so I got my hose positioned over a cup right there. Oftentimes it helps when you have clear hoses, but when I went over to the auto parts store, that's all they had. So I'm gonna work with what we got. So first things first, you want to make sure that you have a good level in your reservoir. If you wind up running out of fluid in your reservoir, what you're going to wind up doing is sucking air through your lines. Not the end of the world, but well, that's borderline like starting at square one. Top off the reservoir here. Now I'd already cleaned it out with a clean rag. Got any type of debris that might have been in there. I don't want that sucking through. Wind up blowing out my caliper pistons. So we're just going to top that off, put a decent level in there. If you did what I did here where you unbolted it, make sure it's not going to fall over or nothing like that. So we're going to give her a couple little pump ups, and then while you're pressing in on your lever, keep on pressing in on your lever and you'll feel that fluid start dropping through. Yeah, I can feel the fluid dropping through right now. Guarantee I probably have some air in the lines in my rear. There we go, got a little bit of fluid going through. Go ahead and tighten her back up. And then release. Yeah, I have almost nothing there. Now it can kind of make a mess. Push in. Tighten it back up. Lift back up. Couple pumps. Push in. Now when I was riding, I could definitely feel I didn't have much brake in this thing. Just slightly crack it. Keep on pressing on the brake. Feel the brake drop down, tighten her back up, keep holding on the brake for tight, and release. Man, it feels way better. So I wound up refilling my reservoir a total of about 2 times. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the reservoir kind of in position always to see how much it needs. Actually, my level is about perfect. Right about where I want it. Make sure your cap's all nice and clean. Might have to, so mine kind of fell apart on me. My cap did, that is. Little rubber deal in there that kind of just acts as your O-ring, keep it sealed. Might just get an aftermarket one later on, but this one works. The old trusty factory. A reservoir should have some lines on it that says, you know, lower section, upper, or uppers on this side, lower shows on this side. Make sure it's all straight. Hang her down. I like to use a socket or a hose off. I'm just gonna snug it just a little bit. Make sure I don't get any leaks on that. There we go. Push about the amount of fluid in there. I'd say there was definitely some refilling that need to go on. So we'll jump over to our fronts. Now on this bike I got 2 front calipers. So let's see if we can see in here. We got one caliper. We got our other caliper. Got your reservoir. Now what I did was I stuck a rag down in there and just let the rag do its thing. Clean in there. Wiped everything out, got all the gunk out. Now, since I did that, I have not touched the bleeder. I have not touched that handle. That's very important. What you don't want to do, once again, you don't want to suck in air. So I'm going to go ahead and top her off. Go ahead and straighten out the handlebars. Kind of helps to get your reservoir nice and level when you straighten out your handlebars. And then I'll start on this one, and then I'll work over to this one. So you always want to get one down perfect, and then usually what I'll do is I'll start on this one, I'll work over to this one, and then I'll go double check and do a few pumps back on this one, make sure that I didn't introduce any air into this side as I was working on the other side. Now if you notice a little square pattern in the bottom of this, that kind of just acts as something to kind of catch any debris as it sits in there. Keep it from sucking the debris in. Alright, so now since we got that all clean, go ahead and add some fluid. I add more than I need. Go. Remember, the last thing you want to do is introduce air. So I got my sight glass right here. I can see, and then should be able to see this pretty good. Pump her up a little bit. Release her slowly. There we go. Came to the end of travel. Tighten her back up and release. Squeeze a couple times. End of the travel. Tighten her back up and release. Squeeze a couple times. End the travel. Tighten it back up. Release. Then you just continue this. I don't have any air in my front side. It doesn't feel too squishy or anything like that. But what I did have was some old fluid in there, which I'm just kind of pushing out. mess all of your garage. Well, my main thing is I'm trying not to get it on the tires. Garage floor is pretty easy to clean. The tires can cause an accident. There we go. And there you have it. So, clean out the reservoir. Push clean fluid all the way through into each caliper and out. That's flushing out the lines, flushing out the calipers, flushing out your brake lever. I'd say she's going to be pretty good to go. I shouldn't have any issues with my brakes at this point.